Hour number 2, and we have transitioned from one of the busiest men in the Southern Crescent to the busiest man in the Northeast, and this is where we bring in Dylan Butler. Dylan, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Have you gotten your when are you getting your nap in? Because I imagine today's going to be a very, very busy day for you on the desk.
Well, let's see. So I'm on currently until 2, and then I have a lacrosse broadcast at 5. And then I will obviously do the speed limit, but rush back for the 7:30 kickoffs. So no nap to be had.
Wow. Okay. Just thought I would ask, considering that it is a double match week. Maddie has officially graduated college. She graduated Kennesaw State last week, and this is her first day back post-graduation.
Well, cheers to that.
So what? Yes. So there we go. Rangers.
Thank you. I like it.
But it's the Rangers mug. It's the Rangers mug. So we got that this morning. Oh, what is Daddy Water in the Rangers mug, or is it actual coffee or something?
It's actual coffee.
Okay. Couple of things involving NYC that we need to get into.
All right.
Do you want to start with the on the field, or do you want to start with the off the field?
Whichever way you want to go.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. We'll do the self-serving thing and talk about Dylan Butler Estates to start things off. We officially have schematics and things to stare at from NYCFC as they have decided to distract from the topic number 2 that we're going to talk about with NYC. And they now have the layout, at least for the end zone, for Dylan Butler Estates. And I look forward to your thoughts about the stadium in and of itself and what it's supposed to look like, at least in the end zone. You have, as it is laid out, an outdoor bar with a meeting area, a mural with fan designs, a marquee to hang tifos, and apparently there are ways to hang it like it looks like it's going to have like shower hooks, and you can like bring the tifo down instead of pull the tifo up as the way it normally is. 3 capo, ultra, and drum platforms, and a 3,400 safe standing location in that one end zone. And so they've brought out the drawings and a couple of pictures and a 15-second video of perhaps raising of a tifo coming in 2027. Your initial thoughts about your stadium end zone, sir?
I think it looks great. Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, I think when here's the analogy I'll give you. So when you're really hungry, right, and you haven't eaten in a long time, and that's kind of akin to these NYCFC fans without a home, right?
Yes.
Like, honestly, whatever is served, you're like, this is great. This is awesome. But it actually does look really sharp and really nice. The club did put out on their social media platforms, what should that end zone supporters area be called? Can it be called anything less than the pigeon coop?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like, is that not the most obvious? I know the team. I don't know if they've embraced the pigeon. Obviously New York City's bird.
Yes.
But that's what it's got to be called, no?
I would think. I mean, unless it is the Dylan Butler Estates end zone or something like that. I mean,
Well, I'm pretty sure. While I do appreciate your signage for me, fairly certain Etihad is gonna probably get involved.
Okay, so then it's the Dylan Butler, the Dylan Butler Suite, or it's the Dylan Butler first class parking, or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
I know it's it's a good first step coming in 2027. So we have schematics, and everyone is hopping up and down excited. Okay, now to the next part.
Yeah,
what in the blue hell? And I did that unintentionally. What in the blue hell is going on here with Nick Cushing, John Herdman, not all the cameras functioning and working, and then dating back to March and Sean Johnson chasing after players and suspensions with multiple games, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. What the hell's going on over there?
Well, we've got an addition to rivalry week, apparently.
No kidding, man.
And I don't know, did you just, I think I just popped in my email box, I think, right about 4 minutes ago.
Okay.
The DISCO decisions, MLS disciplinary committee decisions.
Okay.
Which include suspensions for John Herdman, Richie Larea, and Sean Johnson.
Okay. Were they ones or were they more than ones?
It is one. They're suspended for May 15 games.
Okay, because if it's more than one, you can appeal. If I remember correctly, but this is where you've got accusations of Nick Cushing apparently like taking a swing at Jason Russell Rowe, and I mean, do we have any idea? I mean, Nick Cushing has obviously said, I didn't do anything. And John Herdman's like, well, yeah, he did. And Jonathan Osorio is saying that he did it he took a swing at a 19-year-old. And then that means that we know exactly who it is. It's Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, because it's the only 19-year-old that's on the roster at the time. What are you hearing anything on the ground about, other than the details that have been, he said it in all this kind of thing?
No, I haven't. And my biggest disappointment in this whole thing is this didn't happen in Toronto FC's infamous tunnel, because it seems like all the bad stuff happens in the tunnel. This was out in the open for all to see. Usually it's Josie out the door and Sasha Kleshin in the tunnel back in the day, right? Toronto FC, was it which Liga MX team was that?
Oh man!
Remember that back in the day?
Yeah.
And the safety officers or the cops were involved. Like, that was awesome too. So, like I said, unfortunately, this actually didn't happen in the tunnel. But I will say this though, like, knowing Sean Johnson for the few years that I do, that was a surprise reaction from him. Like, something clearly got him going for him to be that upset. Like, he's usually a really kind of cool customer out there. He's not that initiator of these things. So I do, I wish there were more angles, right? Like, it was right there in the open, middle of the field. But yeah, crazy stuff with Toronto and NYC.
Well, and this begs the larger question in the he said. If it is determined that Nick Cushing took a swing at a 19-year-old, which once again, John Herdman and Jonathan Osorio are saying happened, Nick Cushing obviously denies it. And then John Herdman saying what he said in the post-game press conference. If one of these is to be true, then the other individual is done. They would have to be done if Nick Cushing is found out to have taken a swing at Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, denies it for obvious reasons. If it's found out that he did do something, then he's got to go. If John Herdman says what he's saying and it's found out that he didn't, because not all the cameras were working apparently at the time, then John Herdman's got to go, don't you think? Because, somebody's got to go here, depending on if the evidence ends up going one way or the other, because there's accusations and denials that are on both sides, but somebody's got to go if this is found out to be either completely and totally false or completely and totally true.
Well, I
because I don't think you can have that though. You can't have coaches and or players making these kinds of accusations though, right?
Yeah, for sure. But and
I know that there is a mid-ground if there is not enough evidence to substantiate one thing one way or the other. But I'm saying that if we are in the extremes here and something is found out to either have happened or not have happened, and the evidence is conclusive, then that the other individual's got to go, right?
I don't know if like, I mean, Herdman is saying it. He could walk that back pretty easily, right? Like, on, this is what I thought I saw, or this is what I was told. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think I would agree with you on the first point that, if Cushing did take a swing, yeah, I mean, that's not good.
No.
for sure.
No.
But the accusation, I don't know. Like, it's a little bit. I mean, the whole thing is unique. I was gonna say it was not
Yeah.
a little unique. It's all unique. But
Mhm.
like, I can recall situations where players would accuse. Obviously, there's been accusations of racial elements,
Yeah.
which sadly have been true, and other times hasn't. But the person putting it out there wasn't punished, right? Like, these are coaches, though; they should be held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
So it's all very gray. It's a very, very gray cup area.
Yeah. Alleged incident said to have happened in the tunnel of Yankee Stadium, which is a very small space, during a game between the two teams, March 16. Sources, and this is from Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert over at The Athletic, which has taken on a very New York Timesian font recently with all of their headlines. Gee, I wonder why. Briefed on the situation, 2 cameras outside the locker room at Yankee Stadium. NYCFC sent MLS that footage in March. Club didn't hear anything back, those sources say. Cushing said he was never contacted by the league, unaware of the allegation until Saturday night. Herdman indicated the league got that footage as well. Herdman says, quote, the cameras either weren't working or didn't cover that area of the tunnel, but the footage went to the league. MLS said it's aware of the situation and is reviewing the matter. So that is the latest there. Maddie, when it comes to everything else on your mind inside of a double match week in Major League Soccer, questions for Dylan Butler at Dylan_Butler on the Twitters.
Ooh. I think at least for this double match week, looking at the matches today, are there any matches that stick out to you? Any matches that, you're kind of circling in your own eye? You're like, ooh, I'm gonna tune into that one.
Yes. And I'll say this, as I always do. I watch 360, so I watch all of them, but I'm sort of having to.
You watch your boy Kevin Egan, as you should.
But that
I do as well. And I'll have Atlanta United on one screen, and then I'll have MLS 360 on the other, and I'm just going back and forth.
So I will say, definitely two in the early matches. One, look, for obvious reasons, the Florida derby is super interesting. One, now, if Messi will play, listed as questionable yesterday. Unsure or his involvement. That said, obviously Miami are stacked, right? So even without the greatest player in the world, they should still find the way. Orlando has not looked very good at all, but they ended up getting a really good 3 points against the struggling Philadelphia team. And they get their DP striker off the schneid, scores a brace. So Pareja also, in comments before, has been a little bit critical of I think what he deemed the Messi circus. So that could be fun for sure. And the other one is the new wrinkle to DC Red Bull, one of the oldest Atlantic Cup, one of the oldest running rivalries in MLS, now takes a different look, with DC currently kind of out Red Bulling Red Bulls with their direct play, because of course they've got Shaq in the middle of the field just to head everything in the net. So
you got a freaking redwood there.
So of course they're going to be direct, and of course they're going to play that way. And it's Troy Lesane against the team that did not retain him. And long-standing, like, look, Red Bulls NYCFC is obviously, that's the derby, right, up in these areas. But for the hardcore old school Metro Star fan base, long-suffering fan base, this is the OG rivalry, right? Like DC and Red Bulls, so, or back in the day Metro Stars. So
Yes. So he is Lesane in the brain, or Lesane in the membrane.
Oh, nice, in the membrane.
Yes. And so Dell down in Charleston is asking if you know Troy Insane, and what do you think of him as a coach?
I don't know him personally. I was surprised. I forgot who I thought they might go with, but like I was surprised that he was the guy last year. But he impressed me as well, right? Like it's hard to know what a coach from like a lower division coach will do in MLS, and I thought he did a great job with Red Bulls. I wasn't surprised also that they didn't retain him. I think again, Red Bull tends to think, Red Bull global, and for so many years, I feel like they've wanted to have that European or German manager, that kind of person at the helm. So not surprised that he wasn't retained, but I think he's doing a great job at DC. That is for sure.
And this is, you mentioned the matchup in Central Florida. This is the matchup between Inter Miami at Inter and Co.
Yes.
Nothing like having the team coming into your barn and not really having to shake a finger or a fist at the title sponsor of the stadium. So
No.
like that won't be mentioned. But Dell finally mentions that Lesane, friend of a friend, best friend, played with him at the College of Charleston. So now
nice. I'm glad I didn't say bad things about him then.
Exactly. So that's definitely where. So he waits until the end. He buries it. So
I like it.
It's one of these.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah. So I mean, he waits until the bitter end to bury the lead on that one. But I mean,
he was keeping me honest. Del was.
Yeah. You've got you mentioned DC United with the redwood that they currently have in the middle, where it's just like feed the man, and it's like good luck posting up on, trying to find somebody to post up on power forward like Christian Benteke. Red Bulls with Forsberg, and you're seeing the offense there, but it seems like it's a bit stop-starty when it comes to the offense for Red Bulls. You don't know which one you're going to be getting. Is it going to be the one where Lewis Morgan and Forsberg are unstoppable, or the one where they're kind of sitting there and they're looking at each other and scratching their head? Is like, well, what happened was. So, I mean, are you anticipating something where the over might be the play here, or are you looking at the field kind of tilting toward DC here?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm anticipating a lot of car crashes.
Okay, understood.
This is, if there's an over for fouls,
okay,
that might be the play.
Wow, that's a good one. I like that.
If there's an under for possession, that might be the play too.
I mean, it's like, I don't want
aerial duels, maybe, like I don't know.
I don't want it, you take it. No, I don't want it, you take it. Literally, right. It's like Mikey in the Life cereal bowl. It's like, no, I don't want it. No, he like, there's Mikey. He likes it. Somebody might like the ball at some point in that match. We've seen with teams out west and teams out east, there are some surprises still. But, at the end of the day, you look at a team like Columbus, and to me, I don't know why this wasn't said after the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza semifinal, but there should have been signs that said Wilfred Nancy es el señor, legitimately. Wilfred Nancy is the man. And Columbus just, I mean, you look at their standings right now and you're kind of like, well, but that's because they kind of had things on their mind.
Yeah.
And they right now, they're still a part of the discussion in the East. They're in 8th, and everybody's sitting there going, oh, I don't know. But, I mean, 3-2-6. They've got 6 draws in their first 11 matches. They're hovering around in 8th, but, if they win one or they've got a good week, then they rock it up to like 4th or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, the MLS regular season's on the back burner for them, chasing becoming the second team in MLS to win that title. So I think that's completely understandable. But to me, they're still top 2, 3 in MLS, right? I know you've got power rankings and such where it's largely on current form, but when you look at the full sort of body of work out there and who they are, like, yeah, I mean, they're they're right there. So I'm certainly not concerned about them with what we've seen from them in MLS. It would be different if that number was like 3, 6, and 2, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's only the 2 losses. So
yeah, 2 losses so far in their first 11. Maddie, for Dylan, go.
Ooh, I mean, if you're looking at the matchup tonight against Atlanta and Cincinnati, looking at everything that has been going on with Atlanta and looking at the success of Cincinnati, what are your thoughts on this match, and what do you think we're going to see from both sides tonight when Atlanta travels to Cincinnati?
I'd imagine there's some anxious folks down Atlanta these days, right? This difficult trip, right? Cincinnati coming off a big hell is real victory as well over Columbus. So not the place you want to go or the opponent you want to see when you're trying to snap a slide like they're in. So definitely really difficult for Atlanta, that is for sure. And oftentimes here we talk about hot seats and situations, and I don't know. I think it would seemingly be heating up a little bit down in Atlanta.
All right. So then who else is on your hot seat?
Who else is on the hot seat? Well, you can go to New England, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
But is Caleb on a hot seat?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, how much of a lead up do you give them? But they've been terrible. So I don't know. Right? Like, what are the expectations this year? Like, is this tear it down, build it up year? Were you thinking you'd be a playoff team this year? I thought Lucci might have been, but they've put together a couple of good results of late, right? Your boy in Nashville.
Yeah, you think Gary's still in the hot seat?
TBD on that one.
Okay.
Trying to think who else was in that.
I mean,
I don't know what's going on in Dallas, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be one. I mean, I don't know what the patience level is with Frank Klopas in Chicago, considering that they're 2-6-4.
I kind of feel bad for him in a lot of ways. Like I feel like he said on he's like, he loves that club so much. Like, he's Mr. Chicago Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's also kind of said, like, doesn't necessarily want to do this, but he'll do it for the team, right? Like, and he's just kind of like almost the whipping boy there. Like,
and he's like, yeah, I'll do my club a solid, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. So I feel kind of bad for him.
Well, and I think it goes back to the hiring of Ezra Hendrickson, and we all know that nobody's better than Ezra. But I don't think they gave Ezra that much of a chance, and then you're having to rebuild from that notion where you bring in Ezra, who is one of the top assistants in the league. I don't think he got a fair shake.
Agreed.
And then you're trying to rebuild from that. Now you've brought Frank Klopas in, and Frank, it seems to be a bit of a placeholder until you can come up with the next guy, or at least until maybe you've paid some of your bills, and then you try and figure out who else you're going to bring in. And I mean,
and that's part of the problem too with that's like, fans and pundits, like we love to talk about, like, hot seat and who's going to go, but like, that's part of the problem with that, right? Like, you've got to then start from the beginning again, right? Like, it's like, you've got a lawn and then you don't like what's happening, so you reseed the whole thing. Like, that's going to take time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it might not be perfect. It might not be better than it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you. Meanwhile, everyone else around you, they're humming, right? Like, their grass is green, right? So it's not always. I don't think, like, listen, this isn't Liga MX where it's like there's a quick trigger after
you're fired and you're fired and you're fired and we're gonna hire Herrera and
novella there, but yeah, no, I don't like. That's not always the answer, but then the other side of that coin is, well, how long do you let that ship seemingly sink, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, MLS is not dos mujeres un camino, but I mean, it's and the point made by Dell here is that MLS doesn't have hot seats like other countries. Oops, hang on, because of no pro rel. I mean, Liga MX doesn't have pro rel at the moment. They just have impatience with owners.
Yeah.
Because if you finish, and this is one of the things that's always gotten to me about Liga MX, if you finish in the bottom three, which means that you're either not spending money or not spending it well and you're not doing well, you get fined. That seems kind of counterintuitive. It's like the bottom three teams have to pay fines. Basically, I think there's 7 to the left of the decimal place in growing numbers. Like, the worse you are, like if you finish last, I think it was a $5 million fine last year if you finished last. How much of a, I mean, that seems like
who gets that money? The league?
I guess. I don't know. But it's like
it's
literally
a very arbitrary number. Like,
yeah, it was like 1, 2, and 5, I think was what it was. But yeah, you finished.
You don't feel bad enough. Just in case you don't feel bad enough for finishing last. Here's a $5 million bill.
Yeah, it's like, here you sucked, and so now you're gonna pay even more for it. It's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
it seems like that's not the kind of the deterrent seems to be somewhat anticlimactic about finishing last. I mean, you could spend all the money in the world, you could finish last, and then all of a sudden, here's a bill. Here's a bill for finishing last.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's it's just odd, but but I think that where Dell is mentioning the lack of pro rel, I would mention a financial bottom line, where if you don't have people sitting in seats and people aren't renewing, it's a consumer driven thing, I would think, with new owners that want to invest more money, and they're investing more money and they're not seeing returns. So it's almost like college football, where we used to see that one cycle of recruiting where you'd have patience for maybe 4 years with a college football coach, and if things aren't working, then you let him go. Now it's like 2 years, Tyrone Willingham at Notre Dame, you bring in other folks, you're not that patient. I think that's kind of what we're seeing now with Major League Soccer with this new level of investment. It's the idea of the immediate return, and if it's not there, then you're going to have coaches go, I think, sooner than they normally would.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I think we're seeing it from clubs who like, look at Toronto a few years ago with Chris Armas, right? They're a club who they spent a lot of money on their Italian stars, and they've been used to success. They were in a downturn at the point, and didn't give him a lot of time to work things out. So I think, yeah, if you're a club that spends a lot of money, you expect that immediate return, or at least signs that it's growing and it's building that investment.
Yeah.
Not when you open up your Fidelity count and see all these minuses before the number, right? So yeah, that's a problem for those who put out the wage bill, for sure.
Last question for Dylan Butler comes from Maddie.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
No
pressure. I gotta ask about your lacrosse. So what lacrosse game are you doing today? And what can you share about the matchup?
Yeah, so it is I got some funny things for you. So there's 2 teams in the Half Hollow Hills School District in Suffolk County. Hills East and Hills West. They've merged for lacrosse a couple years ago, but this is the 4th year of the merger. So they just go as Half Hollow Hills. They've built it up the last couple of years, and this year 15-1 regular season, top seed in the Suffolk County Big Boy Lacrosse Division. So they're taking on Connecticut, which is what?
Spell that.
Connetquot. Connecticut.
Thank you.
It is also my home district, so I can easily spell that. Connecticut stubbed their toe down the stretch. Didn't play well. Have a play-in win to their name. So it's like the 1 versus 9, basically 1 versus 8, right, matchup. But it was a 1-goal game in the regular season, so that's part of it. And also, Hills has a guy named Anthony Rayo. This team is almost all juniors. This Hills team.
Wow.
Anthony Rayo going to UNC. Joe Filardi, who's going to Syracuse. He scores like 26 goals a year with the long pole. So he's part of the first midfield, but he has the long pole as like that long stick midi. So he's fun. And the best part of it all, I've saved the best for last. Their goalie is Sal Santoro, nicknamed Marinara. Like, how do you not love that? Right? Big Sal in the net. So
Big Sal.
Sally boy. That'd be
so basically, if there's a big save, he's got the sauce on that one today.
Oh, I got to write that down.
There you go. I fibbed. One final question. Del wants to ask about Jesse Marsh. What do you think about that hire for the Canadiens?
Wow. Huh? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that coming. That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And man, can you? we know how even keeled U.S. soccer social media is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just fathom maybe, like, I don't know, in Copa America, like maybe Canada getting some results, the U.S. not getting some results, like how crazy that fandom will be when a guy that probably a lot of people thought should have been the guy for the U.S. is actually coaching the neighbors up north. So I think for Canada, it's a great hire. Look, Jesse was a free agent, clearly, right? Good move for him, I think, because he can maybe parlay that into something else as well, right?
Okay. Real quick, Emilio, I want you to pronounce that.
A good one, Emilio. That is Quag.
That's it. Yeah, because Emilio's from up there, and so that's why he knows that one. All right,
yeah.
Dylan.
I live in Suffolk now, Emilio. You're not getting that past me, buddy.
There you go. At Dylan_Butler. I know you got a very busy day. Get to your varsity medianess, and tonight you'll be on the desk for a very, very busy beginning of a match week at MLSsoccer.com. Dylan, as always, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.